Uh, Thank you, friends. Welcome again to the fourth webinar in our webinar series on media response to crises. इस राष्ट्रीय वेबिनार श्रृंखला में आप सबका स्वागत है. Before going into the details, we have 90 minutes to end this session. We have 3 speakers, so without wasting any time right now, I'll straightway go to our Honorable Press Club President, Mr. Snehasis Shur, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. Most respected Professor Sanjay Dwivedi Saab, the Director General of Indian Institute of Mass Communication. सर, हमारे प्रेस क्लब के लिए कोई नया मित्र नहीं है. प्रेस क्लब से सर जुड़े हुए हैं. प्रेस उनको आशीर्वाद प्रेस क्लब का पहले ही मिले हैं और यही बात है कि सर हमारे यहाँ आए जब माखनलाल चतुर्वेदी पत्रकारिता महाविश्वविद्यालय में सर थे, उसका निबंधक के रूप में यहाँ आए और हमारी हिंदी पत्रकारिता के विषय एक जो श्रृंखला हुआ था उसके सर शुभ सूचना किए थे और उसी समय से सर के आशीर्वाद प्रेस क्लब कलकत्ता के ऊपर है और हम बहुत आभारी हैं कि सर हमारे आमंत्रण स्वीकार किया और वी नो हाउ बिजी सर इज एंड सर इज हियर to address this webinar session. Sir is one who has practiced journalism and who has taught journalism and who is a policy making in journalism. There is no other person who has got the experience of these 3 spheres, and his involvement is very, very crucial because of the fact that Press Club Kolkata has been partnering with UNICEF. We are grateful that we are creating a discourse primarily on development journalism, on COVID-19 reporting and child rights and other issues. And I think this refresher, this orientation, this discourse is very, very important for practicing journalists, for media academicians and media students. We have media policymaker like Professor Dwivedi. We have Professor Usha Bare as an eminent media academician, and we have our assistant resident editor of Times of India, Kolkata, Shubhro Niyogi. Shubhro is a hardcore reporter. He is also, sir, you will be happy to know, he's the first academic year pass out of IMC Dhenkanal. He has worked in various places. Professor Pandey will introduce him. But Shubhro is a hardcore journalist and he can handle stories of any subject. And the topic which we are discussing today is the space, finding a space, getting a space, grabbing a space for development journalism in the mainstream media. Whether we call it a development journalism or we speak of development, yes. Where are the people for whom we are in this profession of reporting? Be it mainstream, be it alternative, be it any medium. I believe there could be a space. If we can create that space, we can grab that space. That skill has to be there. And Professor Usha will be speaking on the academic sides, and Ms. Sucharita Bardhan is representing UNICEF, we know, but she's committed for development journalism. She has been working, partnered with Assam University, Tejpur, University of Rajasthan, and now with Press Club Kolkata in various parts of the country in her ongoing crusade, I must say, in mainstreaming the issue of development. And Professor Umashankar Pandey, we all know, has been a practicing journalist and a media academician and a person who is committed to media. So I am grateful to UNICEF and all others who are attending, and especially those who are participating as our audience, that you are supporting this Press Club Kolkata endeavor. Sir knows that Press Club has always been taking a pivotal role in academic and professional development. This is our body, not only recreational, our professional rights and professional skill development. So in this process, I'm very happy that all these seniors are participating, from media academicians, media policymakers, and media practitioners, with the international development agencies like UNICEF, and with a committed person like our moderator, Professor Umashankar Pandey. So I'll not take any more time. Welcome to you all. I'm delighted. I'm feeling very happy that you all have come. I personally believe that somewhere from some part of the globe, somebody is paying for this opportunity and somebody is spending time for this opportunity. We must be true to this endeavor, and those who are attending it should be benefited, and then only this effort will be fruitful. And benefited means we must be able to transcend something in our place of work, be it our classroom teaching learning, be it our policy making, be it a practicing journalism where media will see more stories on development. With this, over to Professor Pandey.
Thank you so much, Honorable President, Press Club Kolkata, for your wonderful introduction. I'm personally thankful to these three people, Professor Sanjay Dwivedi, the Honorable Director General, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, Professor Dr. Ujjwala Barve, thank you so much for joining today, and Mr. Shubhro Neogi. As I said at the beginning, all the speakers will be speaking for roughly 20 minutes before we have a small question and answer. But before I go to the speakers, we must listen from the person who has made this 13-part webinar series on media response to crisis possible. Over to you, Ms. Sucharita Bardhan, Communication Specialist, UNICEF Office for West Bengal.
Thank you, Dr. Umashankar Pandey. I think this is an august panelist, very distinguished speakers we have today, and we are very grateful. Respected Professor Sanjay Dwivedi ji, Namaskar. Director General, Indian Institute of Mass Communication, हम बहुत आभारी हैं कि आप हमारे बीच में आज आए और हम सभी को आप एड्रेस कीजिएगा. और I know from my past experience of working with other UNICEF colleagues about your commitment to this area. And UNICEF already has a very good work that we have with Indian Institute of Mass Communication, particularly on health communication at a time when we are amidst COVID-19. I think we will be able to work together. The UNICEF Delhi office definitely will reach out to you. We are very, very grateful, sir, that you've been able to make some time for us today. Thank you. We'll hear more from you. I'd also like to thank Professor Ujjwala Barve. Ma'am, we've not met before, but I'm very grateful that you could come also. And we would like to hear from the academic perspective as well, because UNICEF has been working to look at development journalism, primarily because UNICEF works for children. Therefore, we like to look at social development issues that affect children and their growth and their development. But also we look at providing this to the students, to the students who are in mass communication. Therefore, your perspective will also that much add to the entire work that we're already undertaking. I will be very brief because a lot has been said by Mr. Snehashish Shur already. And last but not the least, I am extremely grateful to Mr. Shubhro Neogi for making it possible today to come here. Also because we are always talking of having a balanced panel, of having media professionals as well as media educators. And we know very well, like we tell our students, that we need to bring both to them in order to expose them. It is also important that in our public discourses, we have both sides represented. We'll hear more from Mr. Shubhro Neogi, and for a long time, I've been looking at towards media professionals who actually give us that motivation to say it is possible. It is possible to look at reporting on social development issues. We have been working with the Tejpur University, with the University of Rajasthan, and some of the critical things and thoughts that have come to the table have been to look at evidence-based reporting. We are looking at balanced, neutral reporting. We look at appealing stories through storytelling. We are questioning the editors and bureau chiefs at what is newsworthiness according to you, so that we are also in the learning process to talk more about. The rest we'll hear from all of you. You are very distinguished, very glad that all of you could make it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bardhan. मैं व्यक्तिगत रूप से प्रोफेसर संजय द्विवेदी का बहुत ही आभारी हूं. उन्होंने हमारे इस निमंत्रण को स्वीकार किया. बहुत व्यस्तता में है और बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण पद पर वो अभी आसीन है, लेकिन जिनसे भी बात करें उनकी आत्मीयता और सहजता के बारे में सब कोई बहुत बातें करते हैं। तो उनका एक संक्षिप्त परिचय मैं यहाँ पेश करना चाह रहा हूँ। प्रोफेसर संजय द्विवेदी, माननीय महानिदेशक, भारतीय जनसंचार संस्थान। वे एक प्रख्यात पत्रकार, संपादक, लेखक, संस्कृति कर्मी और मीडिया प्राध्यापक हैं। दैनिक भास्कर, हरिभूमि, नवभारत स्वदेश, infoindia.com और छत्तीसगढ़ के पहले सैटेलाइट चैनल G24 छत्तीसगढ़ जैसे मीडिया संगठनों में वे महत्वपूर्ण जिम्मेदारियों का निर्वहन कर चुके हैं। माखनलाल चतुर्वेदी, राष्ट्रीय पत्रकारिता एवं संचार विश्वविद्यालय भोपाल के वे जनसंचार विभाग के अध्यक्ष और रजिस्ट्रार के अलावा विश्वविद्यालय के प्रभारी कुलपति भी रह चुके हैं। राजनीतिक, सामाजिक और मीडिया के मुद्दों पर उनके 3000 से ज्यादा लेख विभिन्न पत्र पत्रिकाओं में प्रकाशित हो चुके हैं। प्रोफेसर द्विवेदी अब तक 26 पुस्तकों का लेखन और संपादन कर चुके हैं। अनेक संगठनों द्वारा मीडिया क्षेत्र में योगदान के लिए उन्हें सम्मानित किया जा चुका है और विगत 2 दिन पहले उन्हें फिल्म एंड टेलीविजन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ इंडिया के गवर्निंग काउंसिल और सोसाइटी में उन्हें नॉमिनेट किया गया। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, हम सब आपको सुनने के लिए आतुर हैं।
थैंक यू उमाशंकर जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। यूनिसेफ कोलकाता और प्रेस क्लब कोलकाता के सभी साथियों को नमस्कार और धन्यवाद। हमारे मित्र स्नेहाशीश्वर जो है बहुत सालों से जुड़े हुए हैं साथ में, और हम सब साथ मिलकर अनेक गतिविधियों में सहभागी होते हैं। इस कार्यक्रम में उपस्थित यूनिसेफ की तरफ से सुचेता जी, आपको मैंने सुना और मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा कि आपने अपने कार्यक्रम में मुझे आने का मौका दिया। मैंने आपके भोपाल के साथियों के साथ कुछ काम किया है और जब भी मुझे वो लोग याद करते हैं मैं जाता हूँ, और यूनिसेफ के कार्यक्रमों से जुड़कर बहुत खुशी होती है, इसलिए कि एक सामाजिक सोच के साथ काम करने वाला संगठन है और सामाजिक बदलाव और किस प्रकार से जनता के हित में काम किया जा सके, इस पर आप सबकी बड़ी अच्छी सोच है और पूरी दुनिया के अंदर ये संगठन काम करता है, तो निश्चित रूप से इससे जुड़ना किसी व्यक्ति के लिए गौरव की बात है। प्रोफेसर उज्ज्वला बर्वे जी को मैं प्रणाम करना चाहता हूँ। उन्हें भोपाल में उनके मुझे दर्शन हुए थे और भोपाल वो आती रही हैं, और उन जैसे प्राध्यापक के साथ बैठना, डायस शेयर करना, ये अपने आप में बहुत सौभाग्य की बात है। मैं सौभाग्यशाली हूँ इन जैसी विद्वान प्राध्यापक के साथ आज यहाँ बैठने का मौका मिला। आर्मी सुब्रमण्य योगी जी से पहली मुलाकात है और ऑनलाइन मुलाकात है, उनको भी नमस्कार प्रणाम। कि उनके जैसे श्रेष्ठ पत्रकार और इतनी सारी किताबें उनकी इतनी सजी हुई हैं, तो वैसे लग रहा है कि एक पत्रकारों का बहुत पढ़ने लिखने से रिश्ता कम होता है, जैसे हम लोग बहुत कम पढ़ते लिखते बोलते ज्यादा तो क्योंकि हमारी बिरादरी को है, वो भी जर्नलिस्ट, मैं भी जर्नलिस्ट हूँ, तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगता है जब कोई पत्रकार इस तरह से गंभीरता के साथ अपने काम को करता है। आज डेवलपमेंट जर्नलिज्म पर बात करने से पहले हमें समझना पड़ेगा कि आखिर विकास पत्रकारिता क्या है। देखिए, विकास का जो शाब्दिक अर्थ है वो फैलाव से है या किसी चीज के प्रचार प्रसार से, कैसे वो चीज बढ़ती है। जब हम जनसंचार के संदर्भ में या मास कम्युनिकेशन के संदर्भ में डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं तो उसका अर्थ बहुत व्यापक हो जाता है, बहुत अर्थ बदल जाता है। आमतौर पर विकास की जब बात चलती है तो देश में शिक्षा, संचार माध्यम और साहित्य के क्षेत्र में हो रही गतिविधियां हमारे सामने आती हैं। जब हम सोशल डेवलपमेंट की बात करते हैं तो जो चेंज है वो सिर्फ विकास का नहीं है, बल्कि जो बदलते हुए सामाजिक संबंध हैं, सोशल रिलेशंस हैं और जो वैल्यूज हैं, उनका भी हमको उल्लेख करना पड़ता है। भौतिक विकास की तरफ हम देखते हैं तो इंडस्ट्री, एग्रीकल्चर, टेक्नोलॉजी और डेवलपमेंट के बहुत सारे आयाम विकास से जुड़ जाते हैं। कुल मिलाकर जो व्यक्ति की खुशहाली है, जो व्यक्ति की खुशी है, या विकास की जो मुख्य धारा से कटे हुए लोग हैं, उनकी जो हम खबरें कवर करते हैं, वे सब डेवलपमेंट कम्युनिकेशन या डेवलपमेंट जर्नलिज्म का हिस्सा बनती है। मेरा मानना है कि विकास के क्षेत्र में सूचना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। किसी भी क्षेत्र का विकास सूचना के बिना संभव नहीं है। किसे कहां पर क्या जरूरत है, किसकी क्या आवश्यकता है, उसकी नीड्स क्या है, उनकी जरूरतों की पूर्ति कैसे होगी, कौन कौन से सामान्य या तकनीकी ज्ञान की उसे जरूरत है, ये सारी चीजें इंफॉर्मेशन के माध्यम से ही हमें समझ में आती है और समझते हैं। इसलिए मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि जो डेवलपमेंट जर्नलिज्म है उसी प्रक्रिया को हम कहते हैं जो सभी आवश्यक सूचनाएं देकर के डेवलपमेंट का जो रोल है उसको बड़ा करने का काम करते हैं। जब सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर हुआ उसके बाद पूरी दुनिया में इकोनॉमिक और सोशल डेवलपमेंट की दिशा में एक अलग तरह की कॉन्शियसनेस आई पूरी दुनिया के अंदर। 1950 के पहले जो डेवलपमेंट का सवाल था वो मुख्य रूप से आर्थिक सवालों के इर्द गिर्द या इकोनॉमिक इश्यूज के इर्द गिर्द नजर आता था, लेकिन 1950 के बाद जो डेवलपमेंट का जो सवाल है वो सिर्फ इकोनॉमी का सवाल नहीं रहा, बल्कि उसके साथ सोशल एम्पावरमेंट की भी बात जोड़ती चली गई। मेरा मानना है कि हेल्थ जो है और एजुकेशन जो है वो इस विकास के दायरे का बहुत बड़ा हिस्सा है, और सभी पक्षों की तुलना में आज आर्थिक पक्ष ही विकास की प्रक्रिया पर ज्यादा हावी हो चुका है। इस पर भी हमें कहीं ना कहीं सोचने की जरूरत है। विकास पत्रकारिता की संभावनाओं और चुनौतियों पर चर्चा करने के पहले हमारे लिए जरूरी है कि हम सतत विकास की प्रक्रिया को और विकास की पत्रकारिता के इतिहास को भी समझें। और इस दृष्टि, और क्योंकि भारत में बातचीत हो रही है, कोलकाता में बातचीत हो रही है और हम सब इस चर्चा में जुड़े हुए हैं, इसलिए महात्मा गांधी को भी आज के मौके पर याद करना जरूरी है। आप देखिए कि 1987 में वुडलैंड कमीशन द्वारा दिए गए जो सतत विकास के जो विचार हैं, उसके बहुत पहले ही राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी ने स्थिरता और सतत विकास के लिए लगातार बढ़ती इच्छाओं और जरूरतों के अधीन होकर आधुनिक सभ्यता के खतरे की तरफ हमारा ध्यान दिलाया था। उन्होंने एक बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण पुस्तक जो हिंद स्वराज लिखी है, उसमें उन्होंने ये बताने की कोशिश की कि किस तरह जो प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, जो सर्विसेज हैं, वे मानवता के लिए खतरा बन सकती हैं। महात्मा गांधी ने स्वयं लिखा कि जो हमारी सभ्यता है और अपने कर्तव्यों का पालन करना है, ये नैतिक और संयमित आचरण करना है, ये बहुत जरूरी है। महात्मा गांधी ये मानते रहे कि लालच और जुनून पर अंकुश लगना चाहिए। होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट की बात उन्होंने की और उसका जो मूल बिंदु उन्होंने बताया, इस समाज की जो मौलिक जरूरतें हैं, जो मूलभूत जरूरतें, वो पूरी होनी चाहिए। इस अर्थ में जो उनकी किताब हिंद स्वराज है, वह टिकाऊ विकास का एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण घोषणा पत्र, ये मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, जिसमें कहा गया कि आधुनिक जो शहरी सभ्यता है, उसमें ही इस सभ्यता के विकास के विनाश के बीज निहित है। डेवलपमेंट जर्नलिज्म आज की बात नहीं है। महात्मा गांधी जब 1913 में दक्षिण अफ्रीका में अपने पहले सत्याग्रह आंदोलन की शुरुआत कर रहे थे, तभी उन्होंने महसूस कर लिया था कि आधुनिक समाज को स्वच्छ हवा की कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी। अपनी पुस्तक की टू हेल्थ में गांधी ने साफ हवा की जरूरत की बात की। उन्होंने कहा कि शरीर को 3 प्रकार से प्राकृतिक पोषण की आवश्यकता है। पहला हवा है, दूसरा पानी है और तीसरा फूड यानी भोजन है। लेकिन साफ हवा सबसे जरूरी है। गांधी कहते हैं कि प्रकृति ने हमारी जरूरतों के हिसाब से हमको बहुत सारी हवा फ्री में दी है, लेकिन उनकी पीड़ा यह थी कि आधुनिक सभ्यता ने इसकी भी कीमत तय कर दी है। गांधी जी ने कई अवसरों पर लिखा कि अपनी भौतिक जरूरतों को पूरा करने के लिए जो मनुष्य है वह 15-20 किलोमीटर से ज्यादा दूर के संसाधनों का प्रयोग करेगा तो प्रकृति की अर्थव्यवस्था नष्ट होगी। उनका स्वदेशी चिंतन और 1911 में उनका एक लेख है प्रकृति की अर्थव्यवस्था, उसमें पर्यावरण के प्रति गहरी सोच और संवेदनशीलता को दिखाते हैं। आमतौर पे जो डेवलपमेंट के समाचार हैं, उनसे समाचार ये अर्थ लगाया जाता है कि वो खेती के समाचार हैं, उद्योग या विकास के आंकड़े प्रस्तुत करते हैं, लेकिन ये विकास का एकमात्र पक्ष है। दूसरी सबसे अधिक जरूरी ये बात है कि हम ये जानने की कोशिश करें कि विभिन्न वर्गों के आर्थिक, सामाजिक और सांस्कृतिक जीवन पर इन विकास योजनाओं का क्या असर पड़ रहा है। वर्तमान संदर्भ में मीडिया का क्षेत्र बहुत व्यापक हो गया है, उसको किसी सीमा में बांधा नहीं जा सकता और मीडिया आज बहुत सारे विषयों पर बात करता है, पर डेवलपमेंट के जो सवाल हैं, जो मूल विकास के सवाल हैं, उन पर बातचीत करने में आज भी संकोच करता है। हमें जानते हैं कि भारत एक ग्रामीण संस्कृति का देश है और हमारी कुल जनसंख्या का 20% भाग शहरों में है, जबकि 80% जो भाग 80% लोग जो है गांव के अंदर निवास करते हैं। आजादी को लेकर के आज तक सरकारों ने बहुत काम किया है, ये मैं कह सकता हूं, जिसे क्षेत्रीय समाचार पत्रों ने बहुत विस्तार से छापा है और ऐसे समाचार पत्रों के माध्यम से लोगों को सरकार के विकास कार्यक्रमों की जानकारी मिलती है। आज कुछ बड़े समाचार पत्र भी जिन्होंने एग्रीकल्चर कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट नियुक्त किए, लेकिन ये संवाददाता का जो कार्य क्षेत्र है वो शहरों तक ही सीमित है। मुख्य रूप से सरकारी जो विभाग है या सरकार का जो एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट है, उनसे जो समाचार मिलते हैं उन्हीं को छापते हैं और कभी कभी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय, राष्ट्रीय स्तर की कीटनाशक या उर्वरक का उत्पादन करने वाली जो कंपनियां हैं, जो पेस्टिसाइड बनाने वाली कंपनियां हैं, उनके निमंत्रण पर वो देश विदेश में होने वाली गोष्ठियों में चले जाते हैं। मेरा मानना है कि ग्रामीण अंचलों में जो तेजी से विकास नहीं हो सका, उसका एकमात्र कारण गरीबी नहीं है, बल्कि अज्ञानता की, इलिटरेसी की वो जंजीरें भी हैं जिसने वहां के लोगों को आगे नहीं बढ़ने दिया। गरीबी और अज्ञानता की जो दुधारी तलवार है, उसने ग्रामीण अंचल को काफी पीछे बांध रखा है। इसलिए हमें मानना पड़ता है कि आज भी लोग गांव में परिवर्तन के लिए तैयार नहीं है और अज्ञानता के कारण विकास रुका हुआ है। जिस समाज में अगर कोई महामारी फैलती है, उस महामारी का कारण जो है हम भूत प्रेत को लेते हैं। आज भी ऐसे हमें गांव दिखते हैं। आप ये देखिए, जहां हाथ धुलने की बात है, आज कोरोना वायरस के चलते ये हाथ धोने का जो कैंपेन है, यूनिसेफ कितने दिनों से हाथ अच्छे तरीके से धोया जाए इसका कैंपेन चला रहा है। पर कोरोना वायरस के बाद हमें ये बात समझ में आई कि हाथों को साफ रखना और सफाई रखना कितना जरूरी है। यानी ये बिहेवियर चेंज का भी मामला था, पर हमको समझाने में कितने साल लग गए इस बात को कि हमें किस तरह से करना है। एक व्यक्ति जब लगातार गांव में रहता है, किसानों के साथ रहकर उनकी परेशानियों को समझता है, तभी वो जो है कोई ठोस विकास करने की स्थिति में आ सकता है। कुछ साल पहले भारत सरकार ने बहुत सारी पत्रिकाओं का प्रकाशन प्रारंभ किया, जिनमें योजना नाम की एक मैगजीन है, खेती है, इंडियन फार्मर जर्नल है, कुरुक्षेत्र जैसी पत्रिकाएं हैं। भारत सरकार के सभी महत्वपूर्ण विभाग इसमें अपने विभागों की जानकारी और बहुत सारे जो डेवलपमेंट इश्यूज हैं उनको इन पत्रिकाओं के माध्यम से उठाने का प्रयास करते हैं। मेरा ये मानना है कि ये जो पत्रिकाएं आरंभ हुई वे सब दृष्टि से सफल नहीं है। साधारण सी भाषा में कम पढ़े लिखे व्यक्ति को भी समझ में आ सके, ऐसे बहुत कम मूल्य पर भारत सरकार के प्रकाशन विभाग ने और कृषि विभाग ने इन पत्रिकाओं को हमारे सामने प्रस्तुत किया है। इस संदर्भ में मैं एक निजी प्रयास का भी जिक्र करना चाहूंगा। राजस्थान का समाचार पत्र है राजस्थान पत्रिका, आप सब उसके बारे में जानते हैं, और जहां पर एक रिपोर्टर की जिम्मेदारी तय की गई कि वो हर दिन एक गांव की कहानी कहेगा। और उसके बाद जो है राजस्थान पत्रिका में प्रतिदिन एक गांव की कहानी छपती थी, और उस गांव के विकास के जो सवाल हैं, वहां के जो मुद्दे हैं, वो राजस्थान पत्रिका के माध्यम से समाज के सामने आते थे। कलकत्ता और दिल्ली से छपने वाला जो अखबार है स्टेट्समैन, उसने भी बड़ा प्रशंसनीय कार्य किया। ग्रामीण अंचलों की समस्या को लेकर जो अच्छा लेख लिखेंगे उनको सम्मानित करने का उन्होंने प्रयास किया, और स्टेट्समैन अवार्ड बहुत सम्मानित अवार्ड माने जाते हैं, और देश भर में उन अवार्ड्स की चर्चा होती है। और देश भर में जो भी पत्रकार जहां भी रूरल इश्यूज पर, डेवलपमेंट इश्यूज पर अच्छा लिखता है, उसको सम्मानित करने का प्रयास करते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है एक बहुत बड़ा काम उन्होंने किया है स्टेट्समैन ने इस दिशा में, कम से कम इस दिशा में प्रोत्साहन करने का काम किया। इसके अलावा मैग्सेसे अवार्ड से जो सम्मानित हैं श्री पी साईनाथ जी, उन्होंने भी मीडिया के कारपोरेटीकरण की प्रवृत्ति पर चिंता करते हुए बहुत सारे मीडिया के जो सवाल जो मीडिया के अंदर नहीं आते, एग्रीकल्चर के सवाल हैं, उन्होंने भी काफी चीजों को उठाने का प्रयास किया, और उनको भी एक श्रेष्ठ पत्रकार के रूप में मैं याद करना चाहूंगा, जो एग्रीकल्चर और बाकी डेवलपमेंट के सवालों को याद करते हैं। तो देखिए कि ये जो स्थितियां हैं, ये मतलब कहने के लिए तो हमारे पास कुछ अच्छे संकेतक हैं, कुछ अच्छे प्रमाण हमारे पास है कि हमारे पास अच्छा काम हुआ है। पर भारत जैसे देश में, इतना बड़ा देश है, बहुत सारा काम करने की हमें जरूरत है। डेवलपमेंट जर्नलिज्म को बहुत महत्व न देने के कारण एक सीमा तक हमारी राजनीति भी उसके लिए जिम्मेदार है, हमारे हाउस भी उसके लिए जिम्मेदार है, क्योंकि स्वतंत्रता प्राप्ति के शुरुआती दौर में हमारे नेताओं ने डेवलपमेंट को बहुत महत्व दिया, लेकिन बाद में नेताओं ने अपने आप को बड़े नगरों तक सीमित कर दिया, और जनता के सेवक के बजाय जनता के मालिक की भूमिका में राजनीति आ गई। उसने काफी चीजों को बदल करके रख दिया। लेकिन आज फिर से हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी ने गांव के विकास के लिए बहुत स्तरों पर प्रयास प्रारंभ किए हैं। वो अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी चीज है कि फिर से फोकस हमारा ग्रामीण अर्थव्यवस्था की तरफ हो रहा है। आप देखिए, राष्ट्रीय लक्ष्यों तक पहुंचने के लिए एक पत्रकार बहुत महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभा सकता है। राष्ट्रीय विकास में देश के करोड़ों लोगों को जोड़ने का काम पत्रकारिता के माध्यम से ही हो सकता है। मीडिया के बिना करोड़ों लोगों तक पहुंचना संभव नहीं है, बल्कि असंभव है। आर्थिक सामाजिक विकास के क्षेत्र में मीडिया का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण योगदान है। इसलिए आज विकास संबंधी समाचारों को स्थान देना आज मीडिया की एक जरूरत है। पर मुझे आश्चर्य है कि आज भी हमारा जो मीडिया है वो डेवलपमेंट के सवालों को लेकर इतना गंभीर क्यों नहीं है, इस बात पर हमें सोचने की जरूरत है। आज मीडिया के क्षेत्र में काफी व्यवसायिकता भी आई है, उसके नाते मुनाफा कमाने की होड़ में मीडिया है, पर हमें मानना चाहिए कि मीडिया एक ध्येयनिष्ठ उपक्रम है, एक उसका उद्देश्य है, और इस नाते हमें कहीं ना कहीं जो है डेवलपमेंट के जो सवाल है, ग्रामीण विकास के जो सवाल है, आम जनता के सामाजिक आर्थिक न्याय के सवाल है, क्योंकि सोशल और इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट अगर नहीं होगा, सामाजिक और आर्थिक न्याय अगर लोगों को नहीं मिलता, लोकतंत्र का कोई मतलब नहीं रह जाता, लोकतंत्र बेमानी होकर रह जाता है। और पत्रकारिता का मुख्य काम है ओपिनियन मेकिंग का, लोक शिक्षण का, जिसको हम धीरे धीरे भूल रहे हैं। और इस नाते बहुत हद तक हमें इस बात की जिम्मेदारी लेनी पड़ेगी कि आज जो है जो बहुत पिछड़े हुए क्षेत्र हैं, क्योंकि देखिए भारत जो है दिल्ली में, कलकत्ता में, मुंबई और चेन्नई में नहीं बसता है। भारत उन हजारों लाखों गाँव में बसता है, उन पहाड़ों में बसता है, जंगलों में बसता है, जहां आज भी लोग लोकतंत्र की प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हैं कि कभी डेमोक्रेसी की जो रोशनी है वो उन तक पहुंचेगी। ये बहुत बड़े सवाल हैं, और मुझे लगता है कि इन सवालों पर अगर कलकत्ता प्रेस क्लब के माध्यम से, यूनिसेफ के माध्यम से आज बातचीत हो रही है, तो हिंदुस्तान के मीडिया का चेहरा जरूर बदलेगा, और वो सवाल जो आज मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया में उतने महत्वपूर्ण नहीं माने जाते, वो बड़े सवाल बनकर खड़े होंगे। क्योंकि आज जो है लोगों के अंदर एक चेतना आई है, एक जागरूकता आई है। आज सोशल मीडिया के इमर्ज होने के बाद से, WWW के इमर्ज होने के बाद से और जो है विकास के जो सवाल है वो पूछे जा रहे हैं और इन सवालों पर लोग सोच रहे हैं, लगातार काम कर रहे हैं। बहुत सारे ऐसे पत्रकार हैं जो अपना पूरा समय देकर के इस दिशा के अंदर काम कर रहे हैं। बड़ी उजली खबरें हमें कई बार मिलती है, बड़े जुनूनी लोग कई बार हमको मिलते हैं जो अपना सब कुछ छोड़ करके, भुला करके मैदानों में जाकर के, गांव में जाकर के काम कर रहे हैं, एक भारत की तस्वीर को बदलने का काम कर रहे हैं। ऐसे बहुत सारे एनजीओ का भी मैं जिक्र कर सकता हूँ, बहुत सारे पत्रकारों का भी जिक्र कर सकता हूँ। एक सुंदर भारत बनाने के लिए लाखों लोगों की जरूरत है। देखिए इतना बड़ा देश है, कम लोगों से नहीं होगा, बहुत सारे लोगों की जरूरत है। हम सब ने आज इस चर्चा में यहाँ पर अगर इनिशिएटिव लिया है तो निश्चित रूप से डेवलपमेंट कम्युनिकेशन का सवाल है, या जो विकास पत्रकारिता का जो मुद्दा है, या विकास के जो सवाल है, समाज को सामाजिक आर्थिक न्याय देने के सवाल है, तो जरूर एक दिन मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया का मुद्दा बनेंगे, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं। आज के इस अवसर पर मुझे इतना ही कहना था, आपने मुझे अपनी बात कहने का मौका दिया, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्कार।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and delivering this wonderful speech. And this is the hallmark of a great communicator, somebody who can speak such sophisticated things in such a lucid way that it hits everywhere where it should. Thank you so much sir, and thank you for your delivery in Hindi, because as a national webinar we wanted distinguished speakers to speak in Hindi as well. I have now the proud privilege of introducing one of the most respected media academicians in the country, Professor Dr. Ujjwala Barve. I'm personally thankful to her. She is the head department of communication and journalism, Savitribai Phule Pune University, one of the most reputed departments in the country. She's an alumnus of the same department, and she's been teaching since 1996. She's also a highly accomplished journalist, and she's worked in a newspaper, radio, television in various capacities. Her research areas are media and communication, media education, diaspora media, etc. 5 scholars under her have been awarded PhD so far, and she's presented research papers in national, international conferences at different places. She's worked on a number of research projects with grants from a number of external agencies. She's also translated many books from English into Marathi, including the very well-known Indian media business wife Vanita Kohli Khandekar. And she is a trilingual, I would say, academician in every sense of the term. She speaks Hindi, English, and Marathi very well, but I would request her to present today in English. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Can you hear and see me properly?
Yeah, we can see you properly. If you can be just a little louder, ma'am. We can see you properly.
Okay, fine. I'll try to be louder. Am I audible enough?
Yeah, please, you can carry on, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much, USP, first of all, for inviting me. Secondly, for introducing me in such kind words. You have been a good friend, and that's why you gave me such opportunities to interact with such an esteemed panel. But moreover, I am grateful to the Kolkata Press Club and UNICEF for inviting me to this very important webinar to me. And the central theme is very timely, very relevant, that is media response to crisis. These deliberations will of course help media educators, students and media practitioners take a critical look at the role media can play, has been playing and maybe should be playing during crisis, especially when the entire world is facing an unprecedented crisis. The topic given to me today, practicing development journalism in the mainstream media, scope and challenges, is an important topic. I mean, it's not only important today, it has always been a highly discussed topic, primarily in developing societies. Because when we question the role of journalism should have governance, journalism should be the watchdog in every sense. And that's why wherever there is some lack in development, journalism has to rise to the occasion. So, but the pandemic, the current pandemic in itself is a crisis, but it has given rise to many other crises. It has highlighted the social inequalities, it has highlighted the lack of adequate health facilities to many, and loss of livelihood in the face of the stalled economic activity. And that's why now is the right time to discuss the scope for development journalism in present situation. As an academician, I have been watching this, following this. I won't go too much into the past, but would like to focus on what is happening in the current times and what is likely to happen. And always, the question that faces those with social conscience is how can the lives of common people be changed for the better? What can bring about a sustainable elevation in the quality of life? What are the ways to empower people without trampling their human rights and without making them lose their cultural identity? Because this has been a major discourse in the context of development and development communication. You just don't want a Western paradigm of development. You have to be true to the soil from where these people come, but one wants to give them a better life. So this is a very complex issue. So, of course, no doubt the primary responsibility of developing the different sections of society lies with the government, no doubt about it, or supplemented or supported by the civil society. But it is the news media that are the eyes and ears of the government, of the civil society, and at the same time, they are the voice of the voiceless. It's the media that can draw attention to the need for development, the obstacles in development, and bring the agenda of development to the forefront. I'm of course not going to spend a lot of time trying to define development, but I would like to share my understanding of development journalism. Of course, a disclaimer, I am not a practicing journalist anymore, nor was I a development journalism, so to say, but try to do good journalism. But as a media observer, I do take note of what is happening in the field of development journalism. And my submission today comes from the insights that I got by occasionally following the work of noted development journalists and also by reading, hearing views of development journalists or development communication theorists from India and other Asian countries. Development journalism, for the most part, has traditionally been equated with rural journalism, focusing mostly on agrarian issues. Yes, of course, it is important that India is not only in the metro cities, India lives in the rural areas. There is a vast segment of the society that survives on agriculture, but that's why probably it has been equated with rural journalism, agrarian crisis, and all that. So some of the practicing journalists tell that it is a different perspective that Asian countries seem to adhere to. But development issues are faced even in cities. Poverty, deprivation, child rights, as was mentioned earlier by the UNICEF representative, is a stark reality of cities as well that needs to be addressed. And the pandemic has shown how helpless migrant laborers can be or how poor air quality is affecting people's health. There are many number of issues. So the scope of development journalism has to include all those issues that affect a large number of people, and resolving these issues with sustainable solutions is more important. That is, the solutions should not give rise to another set of problems. That is what is important. So no matter what issue is taken up by a development journalist, whether agrarian or urban, writing about it is bound to ruffle some feathers of the power of those who are at the power centers, because we necessarily point out that this responsibility is entrusted to a section and they are not doing their job properly. That's why the present condition. Because more often than not, it's them who have the solutions, but they lack the will to implement them. Journalists like P. Saina, for example, believe that development is an incredibly political process, and it cannot separate development stories from political values. Some believe that development journalists has to be irreverent to the powerful and must subject themselves to relentless scrutiny. And it is not an easy task. Because such irreverence needs full support of the organizations. I'm happy that after me we'll hear from an experienced journalist, and they will be able to throw light on what happens inside the organization. But my understanding is that to be able to challenge the establishment, it needs full support of the organization. And probably there are not many organizations that take this job head on. Development journalism many times needs in-depth investigation of an issue. It's not only just superficial writing. It has to be in-depth investigative journalism. It requires collection of documents over maybe a matter of months or years together. They have to process them, analyze them, at times using the RTI to get the required information. So many times a development journalist needs to spend more time on digging and building up the story than actually writing it. The question is how many organizations can spare a journalist or a team of journalists uh, for devoting time to one story that again that is always debated. I've heard the development journalists saying that we have to argue our case to the news editor. We have to argue and find space for our stories. We have to fight for the time to develop those stories. So it's not an easy task. And okay, you have the story, you have all the details because it has to be well documented. It cannot be refuted by anybody. So that takes a lot of time. But even writing the development story requires a special skill because it cannot be, it could make for an interesting reading. It cannot be just too much preachy or completely hard-hitting criticism. It has to tell a story that can engage the common reader also. Because the mainstream media, especially if you talk of newspapers, they reach the literate middle class people, and the stories are not about them primarily at times when it comes to development stories. But even that segment should be attracted to the story. At the same time, it should be relevant to policymakers, activists, and other decision makers. And that's why the writing part of it, a development journalist needs extremely good writing skills, extremely good storytelling skills to make the story relevant to everybody. And these stories have to clearly take a side. I mean, of course, the side of the people, the lives of whom these stories describe. It is believed that complete neutrality or balance may not be a virtue of a development related story. Because if you just try to balance, because in reporting we teach our students, you have to have the other side. I always never a report is never complete unless you get the quotation from the other side involved in that issue. But in development journalism, of course, you can quote those people, but you cannot accept that. You have to probably question what is being said by the people who are in authority. And I came across a quote by P. Salinath where he says that a development story need not be balanced, it has to be honest. So honest to the purpose of the story, honest to the data that has been found. Many newspapers we come across routinely carry news items, and they place them at prominent locations and say XYZ impact, whatever the name of the newspaper, and they say XYZ impact, and they claim that how certain civic issue was immediately addressed because of the news and the photograph that appeared in the newspaper. It's good journalism, no doubt about it. It's not development journalism. This is a story more from the civic read. But newspapers claim uh, claim that is the impact that was seen because of their journalism, but the impact of a development story cannot be seen so directly and so immediately. So the gratification that a journalist gets that this is what I put out this story and this is the change that I could affect, that does not come so easily to a development journalist. The journalists may have to follow relentlessly. Other media houses and other forces have to join and make the voice audible. It's a long process. But then again, the change or the end result, the desired result, if at all there is any, cannot be claimed as the direct impact of the news campaign that a journalist may have initiated. It is not easy for a journalist to accept and endure that and then keep looking for more such issues that need attention. It requires a lot of passion, deep-rooted passion, to be an agent of change, and yet be left, be sidelined to the margins or be in the background. That is possible, but a journalist needs that conviction, and it is not easy to be kept alive when tasked with routine journalistic jobs because, as I said, very few publications have dedicated journalists who have the liberty to work only on such stories. Others have to always juggle between the routine tasks and the extra or the special development stories that they can do. Uh, So how many media houses can afford to have, as I was saying, dedicated development journalists? Very few. Maybe up until 70s, 80s, development journalism was at its peak because that was the primary national goal post-independence. But post-90s, we know that so much has changed post the 90s with the globalization coming in and setting in. Media activity turned into media industry and later business. And but with pure considered efforts can be seen with some honorable exceptions, of course. But in general, the focus that day on such long form development journalism seems to be diminishing. The question is, the topic today is that the mainstream media, and like a like a true teacher, I would like to ask a question. What we have the mainstream media, then of course radio, television, newspapers, and the digital media nowadays. Unfortunately, All India Radio is doing probably a good job in developing communication, but when it comes to covering news related to development, it's one-sided. We know the reasons for that. Mostly from the government side, yes, the government has good schemes, those schemes are taken to the people, but then it stops at that. I strongly believe that AR is still not realizing its potential of bringing good stories to the fore. A very recent example is that Pulitzer, the very famous and revered Pulitzer Award, was given. A new category was started for audio journalism, and Chicago Public Radio got Pulitzer Prize for effective audio journalism, and the issue was of the migrants. The Mexicans being kept outside with the perception of the war and all the things that were going on. So, yes, it can have an effect. It can, with very powerful reporting, because you can hear the people saying. But unfortunately, we are not paying enough attention to that. Television is completely a different story altogether, because television channels do not have the luxury of working for days on a single story. They need to fill the 24 hours with as many quickly put together stories than focus on some specific story. And the way the news channels are being advertised these days, they are more debate journalism than development journalism. So I don't think there is much scope. There are good stories. There are agrarian stories. There are stories about. There are time slots where they talk about stories from the villages, some uh, some offbeat stories, some human interest stories, but not dedicated development journalism as well. Of course, newspapers have been doing that. Newspapers have the legacy of doing that, and newspapers have also like some really good stories in the past. If you take up example of national level newspapers or newspapers, of course, Times of India and the Indian Express, Manave. But moreover, regional language newspapers have also presented some excellent stories. Because I mentioned in Marathi and in Maharashtra, the farmer suicide or the lives of tribal people or malnutrition, like problems with malnutrition, have been reported extensively by Marathi newspapers. And they have had some impact on the policy. And so all, such good work is seen in all the language newspapers. In fact, one of my colleagues here in Pune, who is a deputy editor with Hindu Business Line, Rajasthan Radha, an award-winning journalist, and he is also a researcher. He did his PhD on development journalism way back. So, of course, his opinion counts a lot, and he maintains that it's the local level reporters who make best source for good stories from the field. They know the ground reality, and they can be more empathetic with the uh, segment that they are reporting, and the national level journalists often have to rely greatly on local reporters. So it has to be a good synergy activity between local reporters and the national, because the national reporters have wider reach, probably they have more resources. So these two have to work together to make development journalism really effective. Among newspaper reporters and editors, there is a constant debate about the tone of development stories. This is what was, discussed with some journalists because some say that development stories have to highlight problems, plight, suffering, deprivation, while some others prefer focusing on positive success stories because each one of them has its own impact. Those in favor of positive stories argue that highlighting good government schemes or profiling an NGO or giving case studies of successful models tends to cut down the negativity that is an inherent aspect of the hard news. And we hear this about a lot, that the readers do not want to start with negative stories like first thing in the morning. And it is believed that success stories may inspire others to follow suit, thereby aiding the development process. For such people because who would like to have more positive stories, they focus more on empowerment. They say we need to empower people, we need to empower those deprived sections to take matters in their hand and find solutions to their problems. Some others see it as towing the government line and not asking tough questions to the establishment, and which according to them is in direct contrast to the basic tenets of journalism. But one of the major challenges today is that the extreme ideological polarization that we have been witnessing is not allowing journalists probably to rationally evaluate the merits and demerits of some government initiatives perhaps. So that is some problem that they have to overcome. Whatever little space was given to development news has shrunk considerably due to the pandemic, coming to the present time. Pages are being devoted to more revenue earning topics. Staff has been laid off, so not many can have the luxury of working exclusively on development stories because all they had that luxury before. The travel restrictions of the last few months mean that there is not much scope for on-the-field reporting. All this is not a conducive time for development journalism in the newspapers. It is very difficult to predict how and when the situation will change and what turn it will take further. And that opens up the possibilities for the business team. And that is being used by veteran journalists to overcome the limitations of newspaper journalism. They have emerged as the alternate or parallel media. Initiatives like Prari or websites like Scroll and Wire do work on such spatial stories, highlighting the problem, but their impact is yet to be ascertained. Going by current media industry trends, though the need for development journalism has not diminished, the opportunity has. That's why keeping stories alive is going to be a big challenge, especially when the development journalists cannot be satisfied by the effect of their last story and leave it at that. They need to be persistent like activists. So a development journalist is most of the time a combination of activists and journalists. And it's a delicate balance to strike as a professional journalist and an activist. Another balance that needs to be achieved is between so-called negative stories and positive stories, as I pointed out earlier. The positive stories need not be looked down upon as mostly soft stories lacking depiction of harsh reality. In fact, the way to write them can overcome that problem. The success stories can describe the plight prominently and then describe how those plights or how the obstacles were overcome. Of course, the space that is required for that the newspapers cannot afford. But some of our students are using very effectively the digital platform. They cannot be called as the mainstream media because they are small in size. They are trying to make a difference, but one of the biggest advantages of digital platform is that they can use multimedia storytelling format. So it's a combination of words, visuals, and audio that can make a story multiple times more effective than just being written in that. And that is the way to go forward. And I think that's where the future of development journalism will lie, but this is just a conjecture. Let's see what happens. And I'm really happy that I was given this opportunity to share my views about development journalism and what the mainstream media is doing in that field. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Barve, for this delightful presentation. And as usual, there's so much research behind everything you said. It's really, really very helpful, and we've been getting a lot of questions from the participants as well. And as we go along, we'll be putting those questions too. I now have the honor of introducing a person I've known as a journalist for about more than 20 years. Somebody who was there when I joined Asian Age in 2000, and he was one reporter we looked up to. And the wheel has turned a full circle because, we are there in a discussion online almost 20 years since I started seeing him as a journalist. So Shubhroda Subronyogi is the assistant resident editor of the Times of India, Kolkata. He didn't want us to print that designation, but I wanted this to be on record. His schooling has been in Jamshedpur, where he finished his class 10, and then he shifted to Kolkata, and he did his post-graduation in English journalism from the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, as Sneashiza said, and he joined the Asian Age in Delhi in 1995, and then he was there in Asian Age Kolkata as well. He joined the Times of India in the year 2001, I guess, and he's been working there ever since. So it's been almost 2 decades with the Times of India, Calcutta. He started his early career as a business journalist, and then he took to reporting on other issues, including writing on environmental protection, as well as automobiles and planes and things like that. So it's a diverse field that he's been reporting on real estate development and conservation of heritage precincts as well. So 25 years in journalism, he says that I still consider myself a student of journalism who learns something new every day. Thank you, Shubhroda, for joining us today. So the stage is yours now.
Thank you, Umar Shankar. Good morning, everyone. Now, my greetings to Dr. Dwivedi from the DG from IIMC, where I am a pass out. Professor Ujjwala Barve from the Communication and Journalism Department at the Pune University. This is Sucharita Bardhan, Communication Specialist at UNICEF. Umar Shankar, Media Editor, Researcher, and my former colleague. And of course, Mr. Sneashish Shur, veteran journalist, mentor, and elder brother to me in every sense of the term. And to everyone who has logged into this session, a good morning once again. At the outset, may I confess to not knowing anything about the subject at hand. The other panelists in this group, all respected communication and media studies professionals, are far better qualified than I am to speak on development journalism. Yet, this is what I, as a journalist, do day in and day out. Attempt to write with authority on a subject in which I try to gain enough knowledge through a little bit of research and interaction with experts like we have in this panel today, so that I can then churn out an article that appears to have been written by someone who knows the subject. So I will attempt to draw a little bit from commonplace research and something from what I've gained through years of experience to, say something which is meaningful. Now, what is development journalism? From a little bit, when Umar Shankar first approached me and told me, so I was really puzzled, 25 years. I've never, quite pondered about, on the term development journalism. I've just done journalism. So when I was looking into it, and it's a term that I realized that had emerged out of debate in the 1960s on what constitutes relevant journalism. So it was over the inadequate coverage of socio-economic development and emphasis on press releases that led to Filipino journalists to take up the cudgels to reform the world. Now, true journalism, the duo felt, implied on adversarial relationship between independent news media and the government, in which reporters offer critical evaluation of development plans and their implementation. Or to put it more plainly, the priority in news that matters to ordinary people. This is the school of journalism that I have been to and tried to imbibe. And then there is another definition of journalism that I have witnessed in recent years. It could have evolved in the past, or perhaps I was naive enough not to recognize it earlier. It is a form of reporting and writing that explicitly and uncritically supports the government in achieving its goals. No matter which definition you believe in, life of a journalist has become a lot more complicated in recent years. One can be labeled a pro-development or anti-development journalism, or worse, nationalist or an anti-nationalist, depending on what the journalist writes, not on what the journalist writes, but what she or he critiques. So how does one survive in the minefield and still be a journalist? It is simply doing the only journalism that is worth doing, writing news that is relevant to readers. The first thing one learns in a journalism school is the 5 W's and 1 H. I have learned to add one more to it, and that's so what. So it is not just relevant to state what, when, where, who, why, and how. It is imperative to go beyond and find out so what. How does an event or an incident or a project that is commonplace or rare relevant to the readers? How will it affect their lives? No subject is trivial to write on. One just needs to write it from the perspective of the reader and not with the sources and fellow journalists in mind. That, I must confess, is the greatest malady of modern day journalists. They think too much about what people they know will think. It doesn't really matter. This year has been a great learning curve for every human on the planet. We journalists are no exception. In the coverage of the pandemic and the cyclone that we encountered in Kolkata earlier in the year, my colleagues and I have had to constantly put information in perspective and write news that is relevant to readers. If you ask me, to speak through examples, we get daily COVID reports, updates. The data looks promising now. After the initial month of fright, it seems the data seems to suggest that we have reached a plateau. And rightly so, because any infectious diseases play out on a population and then reach a plateau in the curve. The figure suggests we have cases are on the decline, deaths are stable. But if we want to look around, for instance, I will speak about Kolkata. Nearly everyone whom I interact with knows somebody who has either had the COVID or is experiencing COVID right now. The figures in the state has declined, while that in Kolkata has remained steady. It may well have gone up a bit, but there is no way of knowing because some people who have the symptoms are going in for medication without undergoing tests. So what type of reports will matter? The one that tells the story of hope mixed with caution. While non-critical COVID bed occupancy in Kolkata hospitals are going down, critical beds are still in short supply. It is perhaps pure coincidence that after the news reports, directives have gone out from the health department to the hospitals to increase critical COVID beds. But at least we know we were on the right track. Again, very recently, the state government here has launched a flagship program called Duare Sarkar, which has a medical insurance titled Shastro Shati as the pivotal attraction. Duare Sarkar essentially means taking the government projects to the doorstep. There was and is great enthusiasm of public, and it has led to long queues at camps. Because amidst the pandemic, a public insurance which sort of promises a 5 lakh coverage to a family is of immense relevance. Earlier, the story could have been dealt with critically. How feasible is the scheme? How much is the premium that the government needs to pay per annum for universal health scheme? What are the exclusions? Asking those questions may be difficult in the current context. So we ask things differently. How can a citizen avail of Shastro Shati scheme? Is it possible to do so without queuing up and putting oneself at the risk in pandemic? Can the government introduce online forms that can be printed, filled up, posted in drop boxes? I don't know if this led the government's decision to deliver forms to the doorstep, but it did address a concern that was raised. I hope we journalists continue to ask questions that our readers, ordinary citizens wish to ask and stay relevant in a challenging time. I believe if we make a difference to the life of even one person, the profession will continue to be a noble and rewarding one. Professor Dwivedi, Dr. Dwivedi and Professor Pawel raised two very important aspects of development journalism. So Dr. Dwivedi talked about how we need to speak about the various development projects that are happening, how we reach out to the masses. And Professor Barve talked about the need to scrutinize everything, to question. In today's current context, in today's current world, it's become a very challenging thing to do the latter. And doing the former will be okay for a communicationist, but for a journalist, without being critically analytical, it just isn't journalism. Again, there is another aspect to it about what is development. So I write on environment, and I often am branded an anti-development person, because development in India is essentially, it does not include environment. So the environment is not the first thing that is discussed or debated when a development project is initiated. So I will again discuss something that we have had in Kolkata. So we have just next to the city is something called East Kolkata Wetlands, and this is a Ramsar site. Ramsar is a global body for protection of important wetlands across the world. Now, it is because of the presence of this wetland that Kolkata today does not suffer the same problems that other cities suffer in terms of getting inundated in the monsoons and things like that. So there was a project that you build a flyover right through it to connect one part of the city to another. Now that is a development project, but the moment you question how the pros and cons of building that flyover and the loss that one could occur to the environment, then you are not considered a development journalist. So these are issues that we face constantly, and challenges, as Professor Bhavre was talking about. The challenges of being a journalist have become immense in recent times. There is pressure from all quarters to not write things, to not look at things. So basically, it's become a minefield that we tread on, and the best way we can do things is to just speak about people and what they really need. Both the panelists I heard, they were right that we as a newspaper tend to focus more on urban issues. That's because our readership, almost, I'll say 95% or 99% are urban readers. But there was a very good suggestion, I wish to take to my editor as well, about putting one story from the rural area, a story that, touches hearts and makes one, look at issues and also makes a connection with the reader from a village or from a semi-urban kind of a area. So that's a very good point that I will try to bring into our paper. But we do write on issues, but there's always a sort of attempt to make a connection. So when we write about rice, about issues with paddy, about issues with other farm stuff, but we have to also look at how it is affecting the prices. Who are the intermediaries? How much is the farmer getting out of it? How much is so between what a farmer gets and what you pay? What's happening to this chain? So these are issues that my colleagues and others in other newspapers, they've raised, they've analyzed, they have highlighted. But I think newspaper, yes, it is also a business in which to run a newspaper successfully, you need to earn revenue, and we cannot deny that. Today, I mean, we can work without sort of taking a pay. We have already experienced a pay cut, but it's not a reality. So to be sustainable, you have to be profitable. It doesn't have to be a huge profit, but you have to be self-sustaining, and that's what the attempt is, and that's what we try to do. It's only just become very difficult in recent times because there is a lot of intrusion from from politics, from and it's become difficult to report things the way we did, say, 10 years ago. So that's all I have to say. Thank you. I'll take in questions when they come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Subhrata, for this brilliant presentation, and this was so well prepared and so well put, and it's really spawned a number of questions. And thank you to all the presenters for sticking to the time. I mean, among the 4 webinars so far, this is the one which is right on time. So thank you again to all our panelists, and this one has more speakers than the earlier 3. So thanks again to all 3 of you. पहले प्रोफेसर संजय द्विवेदी से मैं उन्होंने अपने स्पीच में जो कहा वो 2 उस पर प्रतिक्रियाएं आई है। एक तो हमारे मित्र KIIT यूनिवर्सिटी भुवनेश्वर से डॉक्टर बिदु भूषण दास, जो सर ने राजस्थान पत्रिका में गांव की कहानी वाली बात बताई, जिसका जिक्र अभी शुभ्रोदा ने भी किया। तो वैसी और एक पहल की बात कर रहे थे, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस के जिला 0 जैसी पहल, ऐसी कुछ पहल जो हम अपने पाठ्यक्रम में इंक्लूड कर सके। और दूसरी बात, कई स्टूडेंट्स का ये प्रश्न है, तो किस तरीके से हम ये डेवलपमेंट न्यूज, ज्यादातर एक सॉफ्ट न्यूज के तरीके से ही जाता है, तो हम उसे किस तरीके से लोगों तक पहुंचाएं। तो ये 2-3 प्रश्न मैं मिला करके आपसे ये पूछ रहा हूँ, प्रोफेसर द्विवेदी। आपकी आवाज म्यूट है सर, इसको थोड़ा।
हाँ, जैसे शुभ्रो जी ने भी कहा कि बहुत कठिन काम नहीं है कि अगर एडिटर लेवल पे ये चीज तय हो जाए, क्योंकि देखिए ये कोई डिसीजन मेकिंग का इशू भी है कि संपादक ही तय करेगा कि उसके अखबार में क्या जाना है। और शुभ्रो जी ने बहुत सही बात कही कि क्योंकि अखबार का मैक्सिमम जो सर्कुलेशन है वो शहरों में है, तो गांव की बात क्यों करे। ये बात ठीक है, पर गांव की बात ना भी करे तो चलेगा, किंतु अगर करे तो और अच्छा रहेगा। तो एडिटर लेवल पे डिसीजन होना चाहिए और एडिटर से बात होनी चाहिए कि कम से कम सप्ताह में एक बार, वीक में एक गांव की स्टोरी करिए। क्योंकि देखिए आजकल स्कूलों में भी करिकुलम में चीज शामिल की गई। आजकल स्कूलों में भी बच्चों को जाके गांव दिखाते। बहुत सारे ऐसे बच्चे जिन्होंने गांव देखे ही नहीं और वो गांव में पैदा ही नहीं हुए, उन्होंने शहर में जन्म लिया और शहर ही उनके लिए, तो गांव उनके लिए कौतुक की भी चीज है। जाकर के वो बड़ी आश्चर्य से चीजों को देखते हैं कि ये अच्छा ये है, ये अच्छा ये है, अच्छा ये है, ऐसे खेती होती है, ऐसे वो है। तो एक अपने देश को जानना, अपने मुल्क को जानना ये कोई गुनाह नहीं है। और सप्ताह में एक बार अगर एक गांव की स्टोरी ली, कुछ भी नाम रख दिया, चलो गांव की ओर, है ना, गो टू द विलेज, कहीं भी कुछ भी स्टोरी कर दी और एक गांव का भी किया, उस गांव में थोड़ा सा गांव के बारे में, वहां की चीजों के बारे में, वहां की कुछ खासियत होगी उसके बारे में, कुछ हर गांव में कुछ न कुछ गांव के किस्से होते हैं, कुछ गांव की प्रॉब्लम्स होंगी। टोटल एक नरेशन अगर आप करते हैं अच्छे अंदाज में, थोड़ा फिशराइज्ड स्टोरी आप करते हैं, तो मुझे लगता है कि एक सेंसिटाइजेशन की जो बात है, संवेदना बढ़ाने की बात है, वो उससे जरूर निकल करके आएगी। और मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया के लोग, जैसा उनका टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया जैसा अखबार इस पहल को करता है, कुछ बड़े अखबार इस पहल करते हैं, तो जो बड़े अखबार ट्रेंड सेट करते हैं, छोटे अखबार उसको फॉलो करते हैं। तो अगर बड़े अखबारों में ये चीज संभव हो पाएगी तो निश्चित रूप से छोटे अखबार भी इसकी तरफ प्रवृत्त होंगे। और मुझे लगता है कि ये एक बार हम सबको मिल करके और अपने एडिटर्स से बात करनी चाहिए कि कम से कम वो इसको CSR की तरह ही कर दे, कम से कम जैसे कंपनियां CSR करती है, इसको CSR मान के कर दे कि भाई ये न्यूज का CSR है ना, तो एक सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के नाते इसको कर दे तो भी अच्छा रहेगा और उससे एक चलन बढ़ेगा और एक गांव की तरफ जाने का बढ़ेगा। और मैं तो खासकर जो स्कूल लोग चलाने वाले लोग हैं उनको धन्यवाद देता हूँ। बड़े अच्छे स्कूलों के लोग आजकल गांव की तरफ बच्चों को लेके जाते हैं और बच्चों का गांव में पर्यटन कराते हैं और गांव के बारे में परिचित कराते हैं। तो और क्योंकि देखिए पूरी दुनिया जो है इस समय जो भारत की तरफ दौड़ी और बढ़ी हुई सिर्फ इसलिए है कि इतनी बड़ी इकोनॉमी है, तो किसके दम पे है? गांव गांव में लोग बैठे, गांव गांव में ग्राहक भी बैठा है, गांव में सिर्फ पाठक ही नहीं बैठा है, गांव में ग्राहक भी बैठा है। उस हिसाब से भी अगर गांव जाएंगे तो कोई गुनाह नहीं है और मुझे लगता है गांव कुछ ना कुछ देगा ही, कुछ आपका लेगा नहीं।
थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर दिस वंडरफुल। और ये आप ये जो नए नए कॉइनेज कर रहे हैं, बड़ी अच्छी फ्रेमिंग है। न्यूज का CSR बहुत ही एक दिस इज सच अ वंडरफुल वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट इट। Thank you again, sir, for your brilliant inputs. I again thank all the wonderful participants, and we've had some international participation as we've been doing for all our webinars. So we've had over 100 participants from different parts of India. So I would like to thank Professor Dr. Muhammad Shahidullah all the way from Chittagong University, my old friend, and thank you so much for joining. We've had Dr. Snigdha Vardhan, Dr. Devesh Kumar Acharya, Amlesh Pandey, Johita Maji. We've had our journalist friend Amit Bhatt, Shubhajit Acharya. We've had Priya Kumari, Shekhar Vajpayee, Dr. Tanushri Mukherjee, Professor Shomik Chatterjee, Dr. Archana Bharti, Shubhoshri Jaina, Shikha Mishra, Dr. Manisha Tomar, Nidhi Jain, Ajay Patil, as I said, Dr. Shomo Datto, Brajamohan Sahu, Rajneesh Jha, and they've all put, and my good friend Dr. Bidu Bhushan Das from KIT University, as I said, there's another question that I'll just put forth. Kashish Verma, Ajay Patil, Akash Sharma, Priyanka Kalita, Shubhangi Chaudhary, Srijita Chakraborty, Hussein Tabish. Thank you so much for your wonderful questions. Dr. Shahidullah, again, thanks everybody, from Chittagong, Bangladesh. Thank you, sir. We've had a lot of, some of our classmates from 2 decades ago, they have joined here here. So I would especially like to thank Nirupama Ghosh from 96-98 Calcutta University batch, and Padam Kumar K. He's joined from Kerala. So thank you again for this wonderful thing. The next question is for Shubhroda. There's this question from Bidu Bhushan Das, and there are related questions as well. So they're talking about why is it not possible for some of our media here to have campaigns like the District Zero of Indian Express or the Freedom Project of the CNN, where they are they lead campaigns for the social change kind of a thing. I'm sure we all know about the Aman Ki Asha kind of a thing of Times of India and all, but why is it not done? The question is on more local scales or more regional scales about these kind of campaigns. And then there's a related question on does activism in journalism give is it good or bad, basically?
So we've actually had a number of such programs or series of stories that we've carried, and we do it once a year over a prolonged period, say 1 month long year. We've had a Teach India, something called Teach India. We've heard Learn India and other such issues where we encourage we engage with various activities that are social in nature, development in nature, and do stories on them. But yes, there is always scope for more. The problem is, as Professor Bavre was rightly pointing out, that today you have a certain number of people in a workforce is limited, and there is a certain number of stories that are to be done, which are days events, these are practical issues that we face. So allowing one person to delve on a matter or report on a subject which will take maybe days of research and days of travel is getting somewhat difficult. So of course technology helps. That has come as a boon, and we can do a lot many things at a shorter span of time. But yes, we are all constantly, our endeavor is to constantly try and see how to balance both and to come out with stories like you asked for. The second part of the question, once again, Uma, what was the
whether activism is good or not?
Activism is good, really good, but over activism is not very good, because after all, you are a reporter. You have to report. You have to report, keeping in mind that you have to be a neutral person. So you have to put both sides of the story. Of course, there is one side of the story which you might consider more important, and there are things which obviously is more important. As I was talking about the conflicts that one faces between development and environment, I would any day take the side of environment. But that does not mean that one does not speak about what the ideals or what the objective of that project is. So there is a little bit of activism will always be there for anybody who writes on issues that are people centric or that are there to do with environment. But I think over activism can be a problem. So we must steer. I at least steer clear of becoming an activist, and I try to be objective and remain a journalist while recognizing what is more important in a subject.
Thank you so much, Subroda. Professor Dr. Barve is having some issues with her network and she's trying to log in. She's just sent me a WhatsApp message, so we'll wait for her if possible.
Uma, if I can just interject, I think we have had Snehashish sitting quietly and listening to us.
Yeah, I'll do.
I think he's the one who will be able to, also chip in and tell about, what are the challenges of being too much of an activist.
So that's what I was going to straight away. So without any further ado, I'll go to the Honorable Press Club President, Shri Sneha Sur, and then our SB ma'am, Sucharita Bardhan ma'am, and then we'll call it a day. Ujjwala ma'am has joined as a presenter, she says. So if there are questions, we'll have to put it on the chat box for her. So that sort of takes it. I mean, we have around 11 minutes left, so we can distribute, between Sneha sir and Sucharita ma'am, and if the honorable resource persons have anything to say. Stage is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Pandey. It has been an extremely encouraging and learning process, I must say. You see, as Shubro pointed out, that after completing 20 years, she is still learning. And I can say after completing 36 years of mainstream journalism, I'm learning every day, because the content is changing, technology is changing, output is changing, presentation is changing, everything is changing. And we are learning new things. Obviously, in audiovisual, the change is more. Print, yes, it has shaped. There are problems. I'm extremely grateful that Professor Dwivedi has pointed out certain issues, that how mainstream media can, from his position, and this is the unique thing of this panel, that Professor Dwivedi has been a practicing journalist, media educator, and a media policy maker. So he understands everything. That's why he did not impose anything on the other. He is an avatar 3-in-1. So obviously he understands the three. So he is the one who can create a perfect balance among the three. So he says, yes, there is a possibility, there should be, but you do it. He did not want to impose. That we all believe, that there is a commitment, that each one at the end of the day, yes, there are pressures, there are something. And Shubro has rightly said that he wants to be an objectively active journalist. What a great thing that he has expressed in a simple sentence. Yes, after all, we do journalism. You cannot ignore it. The other thing is, obviously, we need to resort to objectivity.
Yes, you're there, ma'am.
Very good. We need objectivity. We need to have a commitment to our audience, which is varied, but there must be a space. And I can tell, I have been watching Shubro's contribution in mainstream journalism over 2 decades. But I have seen him who can pick up stories from anything. So that is the skill that a journalist should have. That sir has said that go to the village. Yes, I go to the village. But to pick up something from that village is my journalistic skill, which will be of some interest of the large number of people. So find out the piece of experience and make it interesting, the storytelling. First seeing, picking up rightly, making it interesting, which is of interest to a large number of people. If I say development, people will not read. I'll have to put it in an interesting manner. That is my skill. And I must speak of them. There are a lot of things happening in the rural areas, in the cities even, which speaks of others. We will not confine development journalism on A, B, C, D, E. No. Which speaks of people, which creates a development, improvement of the social status by the government, non-government, individuals. We have to find out and we have to present so that the best practices can be, transmitted to others. Others can be, inspired by those. We are just communicating. We are just informing them that, look, this has happened. But information has to be wonderfully presented. That what Shubhra has been doing all these days. I have no words to praise Shubhra like this. And I appreciate Professor Baure's thing that what she said, that yes, the newsrooms have limited capacities, but within limited capacities, we have technologies, we have inputs, how to create that content and position it in a regular space or time for the print or audiovisual. It is our challenge. Where are the people? We may be in mainstream media. We know there must be a balance between a consumer product and a social good. Media is like that. And we, the professionals, obviously are committed to both. And we must find out ways and means to present that which is socially relevant, which is socially beneficial. That is our duty to do it and position it, finding it, presenting it, positioning it. Yes, not everything is in our hands, but there are people in the news space. It's a hungry medium. If we do a wonderful story in television, we can say that definitely we drop a political story and we put a development story, so-called development story, because it is so inspiring to others. It keeps a resonance after it is being telecast. So that skill has to be, practiced. There is a space. I think wonderful balance of the speakers who have thrown some lights which is practically oriented. Policymakers, media educators, and journalists of repute. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. I think Press Club is happy to be benefited by UNICEF's participation. And we want to create this discourse where in the name of Press Club, everybody is coming. And I am hopeful that Professor Dwivedi in IIMC, we will have more deliberations on individual capacities, on a group. We'll use the platform of Press Club as skill development, refreshing us, because training facility is not very well available in our profession. So we, the professional bodies, will have to create training facilities, and it is required. It is skill-based now, maybe from data journalism to fact checking to development journalism, how to find it, present it, and position it. That, I think, the effort should be on. Effort should be on with our commitment. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Before I hand over to Shuchrita Bardhan, ma'am, there's a question for Professor Dr. Barve. Thank you again, ma'am. So there are, questions about development issues regarding a lot of effort, time, money, and all that. And a lot of mainstream media, they are not willing to invest so much, maybe time even. So how do students, go about it? What kind of stories to look for? And is this, an impediment that can be crossed? So there are a lot of questions, by a number of people, including Hussain, Tabish, and many others.
Right. As students, like in many journalism curricula, development journalism is a major subject, either a core subject or an elective. Even in my university, my department, it's an elective subject. And students opt for it because, most of the times students that join a journalism course are there because they have that passion in them. They feel that they can write about issues so that whatever life they have witnessed, they can make a change to it. So actually students are at a better position here because the technology is in their hands now. I gave you the example of a couple of my students who have started their own website, or they make YouTube videos and they post it there. And it's easier for students also. Access, yes, the teachers can help, or if they need information, as I said, they can use RTI very effectively. But even without those tools, going to the field, what was said earlier by Dwivedi Sahab also, or everybody, is that yes, journalism schools must take students to such spaces where they can see the plight of the deprived people. So sensitizing them about the issues that they may not have faced. But students who come into journalism, I can say with my experience, are open-minded. They do not have shut the doors, right? So they want to see, but we have to be the facilitators and take them there. And in classroom discussions and in visits, we have to acquaint them. And once you give them the lead, whatever appeals to, because they bring a lot of capital with them. So they have to use that. They have to use that empathy and work on it. And I would say that use the digital space
It is possible. No, people now, we don't have to be dependent on channels or publications to find a platform. And this is the best way to start, is what I would say. If good stories are made, I think mainstream media houses will also reach out to the creators of those stories. So that is the one way to go about it.
Thank you so much, Professor Barve, for such wonderful insight. Thank you again to all our honorable resource persons for this brilliant session. Professor Snehashish Sood sir wants to say something.
I'm extremely sorry. I forgot to mention one thing, may not be directly related to this webinar, but yes, definitely indirectly related. You see, the ma'am is from Savitri Devi Phule University. And on behalf of Press Club Kolkata, I would like to pay tribute to Savitri Devi Phule on the year where we are celebrating. We have just concluded our celebration of bicentenary of Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. These two names are synonymous with social development. So when we talk about social development and a physical space of Kolkata and Pune, I think, and on the year of bicentenary of Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, the discourse on social development or development journalism, whatever you say, it will remain incomplete if I do not pay my tribute to Savitri Devi Phule and Pandit Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar on Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar's bicentenary. And especially, we have Professor Barve from there. So through her, we want to pay a tribute to Savitri Devi Phule and all her work which she did at that point.
I wouldn't be here if not for Savitri Bai Phule. So whenever I start speaking, she is at the back of my mind always.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now for final words, I'll go to Ms. Sucharita Bardhan. As I say, the spirit behind this series, the person who's conceptualized and made it possible for it to be implemented like that. So the final thoughts with Ms. Sucharita Bardhan, Communication Specialist, the UNICEF Office for West Bengal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Uma Shankar Pandey, once again. Actually, it's not the closing words, it's the beginning of another chain of thoughts for us. Those of us who have been in this entire initiative for more than 8 years now. I think we started our journey in Tejpur almost 8 years back on development journalism, and we've been carrying forth since then. There is a lot of interesting discussion, debate that has happened. I'm not going into that. I'm just want to talk about the take-home issues that I have for us to do some homework. And with that, probably even talk about some of the expectations, because the three speakers represent three very important stakeholders for us. On the issue of the space that is allotted to newspapers, and because most of our 70% of our population is in the rural areas, but because also the readership is primarily 95%, as Shubhro mentioned, is in the urban areas. So therefore, there is a certain reason why we restrict. My submission is that the NFHS data, the National Family Health Survey data, has just come out. If we look at the progress across various sectors, that progress is for the whole of the people, the population, both rural and urban. And we have it very clearly tells us exactly where we need to put our strength and rethink in terms of ensuring that the well-being of people, whether it is health, nutrition, and we can all go to the data sets to see where we are at this moment. I am also, and therefore I think that yes, while the readership is mostly of the urban milieu, I think even he, along with the other speakers, spoke about the importance of probably exploring what could be a news from a rural area. And that would help both students, as Madam just mentioned, and also draw an interest among those who may not have adequate information on how the entire development perspectives or paradigms are located in the rural areas. And for that, I think some of the immediate steps that Mr. Shubhro has mentioned is very encouraging, because it comes from a senior representative as a media professional. And we all know, we have been talking for a long while, that it is not just media professionals who are in their mid-media careers. But we need to have the managers and editors also have a buy-in, which Madam also mentioned, that it is not about, it is important, storytelling, appealing stories, knowing how to write those stories, having the skill is very important, it's crucial. But it is also important to be able to sell the stories to their editor, so that the media managers, because there is a certain element of profit which will have to be kept into mind. And therefore, how do we bridge that and make stories interesting, important, relevant, at the same time, draw that balance in terms of where issues which relate to social development also find a place. I learned a very interesting thing today, and I'm very happy about it. We've been so long talking about balancing news, also from the perspective of sensationalization, because we also have another angle which we didn't touch upon today, but it is important. And as development planners, many times we are intrigued with the thought that sensationalization in the headlines, in the news of so many children died in suddenly as a news item comes up, which actually when you explore and investigate tells you over a period of 10 months. So that is where we discussed and deliberated upon in terms of looking at what could be evidence-based reporting, what could make news depend on or use data, which is where we came up with data journalism as a very important and intrinsic component. But I also learned that not just balanced news or evidence-based news, but honest news. I learned about people's making it relevant for people. So people's news, basically trying, as the fourth pillar of democracy, trying to represent the people and putting forward that option. So that is another interesting perspective. We have also, I found mention about the recognition in terms of very important awards, like the prestigious award of the Statesman, the Rural Reporting Awards. And you will be happy to know that we are already in discussions. Not because maybe we may not only want to do rural reporting, we would like to also look at urban issues. And again, I think very importantly, we have understood that there are a lot of issues in the urban areas which also deserve space to be understood, to learn about various intricacies of where or why development is getting stalled, or the barriers, or what could have been bridged in order to make things happen. So we will also be looking at something like that. I am fairly new to West Bengal. After 9 years I've come back, and I'm looking forward to taking up the role once again. I'm extremely excited also at the thought. I want to leave the very distinguished audience with one thought. Both as students and as media professionals, where can we bring in a hands-on training and grooming as an ongoing process? Before we began this discussion, we were talking about how Mr. Shubhro is in front of a very beautiful ambience he's created with the background of books. And we know that in today's journalism, we have a dearth of news makers or reporters or journalists who were earlier, well-read, who were grasping for knowledge, who wanted to know not only the current news, but also a background in order to justify, in order to rationalize. How can we bring in that spirit once again? That is something I think both as policymakers in an institution like the Indian Institute of Mass Communication, where naturally there are students, but also for practicing professionals. And there is a course, sir, about critical appraisal, critical skills appraisal for health communicators. How can we take that kind of mandate forward? And it's not just in health, maybe across. Madam also probably would be very interested to, at a later time when we are on the table once again to discuss, to probably give us suggestions on not just students alone. What could be some customized hands-on grooming for even young practicing professionals? Can universities provide that kind of support? Can we have some kind of a on-site, off-site course where where professionals can benefit? Also, to a senior representative of the media practice, what could or how could other agencies provide support in terms of grooming professionals, many times not only from the city but also from the district and from the locality. We know that stringers are also very important, and we know that a lot of information comes in from stringers. Can we also provide some kind of support for stringers also to develop a certain kind of perspective which minimizes sensationalization and gives us more information, more food for thought? I will leave all of you with this thinking, with the understanding that we will have all of you to support us in this journey that we are so arduously continuing. Yes, Shubhro, please.
I'll just interject. I needed to clarify one thing. When I talked about the 95% of the readership, I was talking about English, media. Vernacular media, the reach in the rural areas is immense, and it will continue to be immense. And second, second clarification to both of you, the books that you see here, they are mostly novels. They have nothing to do with serious matter. So that's it. It was wonderful being a part of this discussion.
Yeah, but I would just like to take that very interesting thought about also reading novels. Novels
yes,
actually give that innate, develops that skill about storytelling. And we know very often why and how storytelling becomes that much more important to make a toilet story equally important and equally appealing than maybe page 3 or crime or even politics. So I will leave with this thought that a young district media professional left with us, and that has since then I've been thinking about it, that madam, it's very easy to report on politics and crime in page 3. Even if we add some kind of a rumor, we're really not bothered. But when it comes to development, and particularly children, we have to be that much more careful. I actually took a learning out of that, because I thought that here is somebody who actually has a responsibility. He's actually saying that I have to be more responsible if I have to do it. Maybe we need to figure out how best to provide it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again for being here, all of you. It has been an extremely engaging discussion. Over to Umashankar Pandey.
Thank you so much.
You're muted. Dr. Pandey, you're muted.
Always a learning experience listening to Sucharita ma'am. I mean, we've been working with her in UNICEF Rajasthan, where she would have, these speeches in Hindi entirely. So, that speaks so much for her commitment. And every time, she picks up just the right thing. So that's what, communicators are, just the most important things. And it makes it, so very relatable with the things we do. And brilliant to have, people like Professor Dwivedi and Professor Barve, people who spend years and years in, mainstream journalism. So I mean, it's always, nice to have such refreshing perspectives from people like that. Knowing Shubhro, he would have read each and every of the novel I see behind him. So it's there for reading, I'm sure. Thank you so much. This is such a wonderful occasion to, have these discussions, and wonderful participants from all over the country. As I said, more than 100 today as well. Again, I'll take this opportunity to invite our participants to join us for the 4th webinar on 18th of December on Friday. And the topic is COVID-19 pandemic and risk journalism. We'll have another former IMC associate professor, Dr. Shalini Narayanan there, and we'll have a health specialist from UNICEF and one of the senior most and most respected journalists from Bengal, Mr. Sudipto Sengupta. So looking forward to that. I take this opportunity to thank 3 very important people behind the show. Our webinar coordinator, Shreya Deb, our IT coordinator, Devayan Bhaduri and Sanjali Ganguly, and our creative team head, Shekhar Bajpai. Thank you, everybody. And, if anyone wants to have the final thought before we hand it over to Snehashida again for a formal vote of thanks.
So thank you.
Thanks for inviting. Thanks for this opportunity.
Just whatever I had to say, obviously I have known Professor Dwivedi and Shubhro, but Professor Barve, he did not think that we don't know each other. We are working in the same plane. You have been a practicing journalist and now you are teaching. So I also have a little bit of exposure in teaching for more than 3 decades now. So this is
he was my teacher.
So that is something.
We are colleagues.
We are on the same platform, and Sucharita I know her from her commitment. She has done her post-graduation John Hopkins, and then she was there and formulated a lot of development journalism courses, practical development journalism training facilities created by her in West Bengal. And we know her commitments. And Professor Dwivedi, how simple he is. I met him, he said that he blessed Press Club Kolkata in Hindi Patrakarita training programs, and which was very, very appropriate. He made it very particular, both himself and Professor Upasani when he was the Vice Chancellor, and Sir was the registrar. Both of them came. Sir inaugurated and Professor Upasani gave the valedictory address. Another professor came to take the sessions. It was very well accepted, because language journalism, I generally do not prefer calling it vernacular journalism. Language journalism is the future. That's the truth. When we talk about English journalism, is plus people like us, but language journalism has a penetration, and we have to understand the importance of language journalism. Three of the participants, we are extremely grateful. If you do not come and participate and share your views, I think the entire endeavor will not be fruitful. And I'm thankful to UNICEF, and I'm thankful to Dr. Umashankar Pandey for taking this enthusiastic spearheading contribution for making it a success. We will look forward to a follow-up what we get. We are serious that we will make an output report, and we'll take something also from this discourses. Let's hope that a professional body like Press Club Kolkata, how far we can do for our professional development. Thank you very much from my personal side and from the Press Club Kolkata for making it a success. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. See you all on Friday, December 18th, 11 a.m., same place.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.